Leadership is not about titles, authority, or being the loudest voice in the room. It's about influence, how you make people feel, how you help them grow, and how you carry yourself when no one's watching. The truth is, being a great leader starts long before anyone follows you. It begins with who you are, how you think, and the way you choose to act every single day. In this audiobook, you're going to discover what it truly means to lead with purpose and inspire others in a real, lasting way. You'll learn how to stay calm when everything around you feels uncertain, how to make decisions with confidence, and how to earn trust, not by talking but by living your values. This isn't about memorizing leadership theories or pretending to have all the answers. It's about becoming someone people believe in because your actions speak louder than your words. You'll uncover how to guide others by first mastering yourself. You'll see how honesty builds trust, how patience strengthens influence, and how genuine care can transform the people around you. You'll understand why leadership isn't about control, it's about connection. Each chapter gives you practical steps and insights to help you grow into a leader who inspires through example, empathy, and discipline. So as you listen, take a moment to think about the kind of person you want to become, the kind of leader who lifts others, who stands firm in tough times, and who leads not for recognition, but for impact. Because the truth is, leadership isn't something you're born with, it's something you build every day. By the end of this journey, you won't just know how to lead, you'll understand how to live with purpose, guide with wisdom, and inspire others to believe in something greater than themselves. Stay with me, because what you'll learn here might just change the way you see leadership and the way you see yourself. Chapter 1. Lead yourself first before guiding anyone toward success. Every great leader begins not with a title, not with a team, but with a choice. The choice to take ownership of themselves. Before a person can influence others, they must first master their own mind, emotions, and habits. Leadership does not start when others follow you. It begins the moment you decide to become the kind of person worth following. To lead yourself is to take full responsibility for your direction, your attitude, and your behavior. It means refusing to wait for motivation to appear or for circumstances to align. It means showing up for yourself when no one is watching, when the rewards are invisible, and when the effort feels heavy. Because before you can ask others to trust your guidance, you must prove that you can guide your own path with consistency, clarity, and courage. Every leader who leaves a lasting mark carries the same truth. You cannot lead anyone beyond the limits of your own discipline. If your thoughts are scattered, your actions inconsistent, or your emotions unsteady, your influence will collapse the moment pressure arrives. But if you can lead yourself with focus and calm through both success and struggle, others will naturally follow, not because you demand it, but because your life commands respect. Self-leadership begins in silence. It begins when you wake up and decide how you will use your time, what energy you will bring into the world, and which habits will define your day. Many people try to lead others without ever learning to manage themselves. They expect others to listen, while they themselves do not listen to their own conscience. They want loyalty, yet they do not keep promises to themselves. They want discipline from others, yet their own habits fall apart the moment comfort calls. The truth is, no leadership book or strategy can replace self-mastery. You can study leadership theories, management techniques, and motivational speeches, but if you cannot control your emotions in conflict, keep calm when plans fail, or stay patient when results take time, you are not leading, you are reacting. Leadership starts where excuses end. It begins with small, unseen moments, the times you choose discipline over distraction, reflection over reaction, effort over comfort. Every time you choose to rise above your impulses, you are strengthening the foundation that all great leadership stands on: personal integrity. If you want to guide others towards success, you must first become an example of stability. People do not follow words, they follow behavior. A leader who preaches patience but acts with frustration cannot build trust. A leader who speaks of goals but avoids responsibility creates confusion, not direction. Self-leadership means aligning your actions with your values every day, even when no one is watching. It means doing the right thing, not the easy thing. This kind of leadership begins with self-awareness. Before you can guide others, you must know yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers, and your limits. A person unaware of their emotions will be controlled by them. Anger, fear, and pride are not signs of weakness. They are signals to observe and understand. True self-leadership is not about suppressing emotion, but mastering response. You cannot control the world around you, but you can always control your internal state. To lead yourself means you stop running from your flaws. You look at them directly, without denial or self-pity. You take ownership of the patterns that hold you back. You stop blaming others for what you can change. You realize that leadership is not about being perfect, it is about being accountable. There is a quiet kind of power in a person who takes full responsibility for themselves. When something goes wrong, they ask, "What can I do better?" When challenges arise, they look for growth instead of escape. This mindset transforms frustration into fuel. Every failure becomes feedback. Every obstacle becomes training. When you begin to lead yourself, your relationship with time changes. You stop wasting energy on things you cannot control. You stop chasing quick rewards and begin building long-term strength. You become intentional about how you spend your days, because you understand that every action, no matter how small, shapes who you are becoming. A true leader wakes up each day with a simple mission: to improve themselves in some way, not for ego, but for service. The stronger and wiser you become, the more capable you are of guiding others. Leadership is not about power over people. It is about responsibility for people. You cannot give clarity if your own life is disorganized. You cannot give motivation if your own heart is drained. To lead others well, you must fill your own mind and spirit with strength first. So, how do you begin to lead yourself? It starts with honesty. Take a quiet moment to evaluate your life as it is, not as you wish it to be. Ask yourself hard questions. Am I keeping promises to myself? Do my actions reflect my goals? Am I disciplined with my time? Do I react with emotion or respond with clarity? Do I seek growth or do I avoid discomfort? The answers may not feel pleasant, but truth always precedes transformation. You cannot fix what you will not face. Many people live in denial of their own habits they want to improve, but they refuse to look in the mirror. Self-leadership requires the courage to see reality clearly. Once you do, change becomes possible. After honesty comes discipline. Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement. It means doing what needs to be done, even when motivation fades. It is waking up early when comfort tempts you to stay in bed, keeping your word when no one else will notice, and following through when the excitement is gone. Discipline builds trust with yourself first, and then with others. Without discipline, leadership collapses. A leader who cannot manage their emotions will lose respect. A leader who cannot manage their time will lose opportunities. A leader who cannot manage their ego will lose trust. Discipline is not about control for its own sake. It is about freedom. When you are disciplined, you are free from chaos, free from regret, and free from being ruled by impulse. The next foundation of self-leadership is clarity. You must know what you stand for, what you believe in, and where you are going. Without clarity, leadership becomes confusion. You cannot expect others to follow if you do not have a clear vision of where you are leading them. Clarity is born from reflection, daily moments of stillness where you ask, What truly matters to me? And what kind of person do I want to be? Once you know your direction, lead your actions to match it. It is not enough to have vision, you must live it. Each day, align your choices with your values. If integrity matters to you, be honest, even when it costs you. If growth matters, choose discomfort over ease. If compassion matters, treat others with patience, even when you are tired. Leadership grows when your behavior becomes proof of your principles. Self-leadership also means mastering your emotions. Every day, life will test your patience, your confidence, and your peace. People will disappoint you, plans will fall apart. The unexpected will happen. In those moments, your reaction reveals your maturity. You can either respond with anger and lose control, or you can pause, breathe, and lead yourself through the emotion. A calm mind does not mean a weak heart, it means a wise one. The greatest leaders do not control others through authority, they lead through presence. When others are anxious, they stay centered. When others panic, they stay clear. This stability inspires trust. It communicates silently, "You can count on me." That trust begins within. When you trust yourself, your discipline, your focus, your ability to adapt, you no longer fear uncertainty. You become someone who others instinctively follow. Self-leadership also demands humility. To lead yourself, you must accept that you do not have all the answers. You must be willing to learn, to change, and to admit when you are wrong. Pride prevents growth. A person who thinks they know everything stops improving. But a humble leader grows endlessly because they see every experience as a teacher. Humility is not weakness, it is strength under control. It allows you to learn from criticism instead of being offended by it. It helps you listen deeply instead of waiting to speak. It teaches you to value others' perspectives instead of defending your own. A humble leader inspires openness and trust because people feel safe around someone who listens and learns. Another key aspect of self-leadership is self-respect. You teach others how to treat you by how you treat yourself. When you respect your own time, others will too. When you set healthy boundaries, you show that your energy is valuable. When you carry yourself with quiet confidence, people respond with trust. Respect is not demanded, it is earned through the way you carry yourself. Self-leadership also requires consistency. Anyone can act disciplined for a week. True mastery shows up in those who remain steady month after month. Consistency turns effort into excellence. It builds habits that no longer depend on willpower, they become who you are. The most powerful people are not those who do extraordinary things once, but those who do ordinary things with excellence every day. To lead yourself is to wake up every morning with intention. It means you decide how you will think, act, and respond before the world decides for you. You take charge of your energy, your priorities, and your mindset. You no longer drift through days hoping things will change. You create change through consistent action. Imagine what happens when you apply this daily. Your confidence grows not because of praise, but because of proof. You know who you are and what you stand for. You no longer seek validation. Your peace comes from your progress. This strength radiates outward. People sense it. They see your reliability, your calm, your focus, and they begin to trust you, even without words. That is leadership born from within. The world is full of people trying to lead without ever leading themselves. They chase authority but lack integrity. They demand loyalty but give none. They want results without responsibility. This is why so few become true leaders. The difference is not talent, it is discipline. It is the daily decision to lead your thoughts, your choices, and your emotions with purpose. When you begin to lead yourself, You no longer depend on others for direction. You create your own standard. You set your own pace. You live by principles that do not change with circumstance. And that unshakable consistency becomes your greatest power. People follow those who are predictable in character, those whose words match their actions, whose values do not bend under pressure. The foundation of leadership will always be self-mastery. The more you understand yourself, the more clearly you can understand others. The more you manage your emotions, the better you can manage relationships. The more you hold yourself accountable, the more others will trust your accountability. Everything flows from within. So if you want to lead others, begin by leading yourself in these small but powerful ways. Wake up each day with purpose, not distraction. Keep one promise to yourself every day. Reflect each night on what you can improve tomorrow. Speak truth, even when silence would be easier. Stay calm when anger tries to control you. Seek progress instead of perfection. And never stop learning from every moment life gives you. This is how you build credibility, not through talk, but through character. The leader you become in private determines the leader others see in public. Leading yourself first is not a destination, it is a lifelong practice. You will fail at times. You will fall short of your own standards. That does not make you unworthy of leadership, it makes you human. The key is to rise again each time, to recommit to your principles, and to keep improving. Consistency is what builds influence. In the end, leadership is not about having followers, it is about creating more leaders. And the only way to do that is by showing people what true leadership looks like: personal accountability, quiet strength, and relentless growth. When you embody these qualities, others learn through your example. To lead yourself first is to say, I will not ask anyone to do what I am not willing to do. It means holding yourself to the highest standard, even when no one is watching. That kind of integrity builds trust faster than any speech or strategy ever could. Every great movement, every strong community, every successful team begins with one person who decides to live with purpose and discipline. You can be that person. You can be the one who inspires others not through orders, but through example. That is how true leadership begins, not with followers, but with responsibility. So begin today. Lead yourself in thought, in emotion, in action. Become the kind of person who can be trusted, who stays calm in chaos, and who never stops growing. From that foundation, leadership will not be something you force, it will be something you naturally become. And that is where all great leadership begins within you. Chapter 2. Build trust daily through honesty, consistency, and genuine care. Trust is the foundation of all great leadership. Without it, influence fades, and no strategy or speech can hold people together. Building trust is not a single action or a grand gesture. It is a daily practice shaped by honesty, consistency, and genuine care for others. When people trust you, they feel safe around you. They open up, they give their best, they follow not because they have to, but because they believe in you. Leadership built on fear collapses when pressure comes. Leadership built on trust lasts through every storm. Honesty is the first pillar. It is not only about telling the truth, but about living in truth. It means speaking with sincerity, even when honesty feels uncomfortable. People can sense when words are empty or when someone hides behind polite lies. The strongest leaders tell the truth with respect. They do not exaggerate to impress or stay silent to avoid responsibility. Honesty earns credibility. When people know your words match your intentions, they begin to rely on you. And that reliability is what strengthens connection. Honesty also means admitting when you are wrong. Many people fear losing respect by showing imperfection, but in reality, admitting mistakes builds more trust than pretending to be flawless. A leader who takes responsibility for errors teaches integrity through example. People follow someone they know will tell them the truth, not just what sounds good. Every time you are transparent about a decision or an outcome, you deepen the trust others feel. Consistency is the next foundation. Trust cannot survive on occasional effort. People trust those who show up the same way every time, steady, reliable, predictable in their values. When your behavior changes with every emotion or situation, others feel uncertain around you. But when your reactions are stable, your promises are kept, and your principles remain the same, even under pressure, people begin to feel secure in your presence. Consistency is what turns good intentions into real influence. You build consistency by aligning your actions with your values daily. If you say you care about others, show it through small acts of respect and fairness. If you value honesty, avoid gossip and manipulation. If you value growth, continue learning, even when no one asks you to. Trust grows when people see your values reflected in how you treat them and how you handle difficulty. Consistency also applies to communication. When people never know what version of you they will meet, trust weakens. Be calm and fair, even when you must deliver hard news. When your tone, your words, and your decisions are guided by integrity, others know what to expect from you. Predictability in behavior is a form of safety. It helps people relax and focus on the work or mission instead of guarding themselves against uncertainty. The third foundation is genuine care. Leadership is not just about guiding performance, it is about guiding people. When you care about others as human beings, not just as roles or tasks, they respond with loyalty that no authority can demand. People can sense when they are seen as tools versus when they are valued as individuals. Real care cannot be faked. It shows in how you listen, how you respect differences, and how you treat others when there is nothing to gain. Genuine care means you remember that every person you work with has fears, dreams, and struggles of their own. You take time to understand what motivates them and what burdens them. You notice their efforts, acknowledge their growth, and offer encouragement when they doubt themselves. Even small gestures, a word of appreciation, a moment of patience, an act of understanding can create bonds that last for years. People rarely remember every instruction or task, but they always remember how you made them feel. If you make them feel respected and valued, they will trust your direction, even when times are difficult. Caring leadership is not about being soft. It is about being human. It balances compassion with accountability. You can demand excellence while still showing empathy. The difference lies in your tone, your attitude, and your intention. To build trust daily, you must practice listening more than speaking. Listening is one of the deepest forms of care. When someone feels truly heard, they feel understood. When they feel understood, they open up and contribute more honestly. Listening builds bridges faster than authority ever could. It allows you to see perspectives you might miss and avoid misunderstandings that destroy relationships. Trust also grows when you keep your promises. Broken promises, even small ones, leave lasting damage. When you commit to something, follow through. If you cannot, communicate honestly and early. People respect truth more than silence or excuses. Reliability builds a reputation of strength. Others learn that your word carries weight, and over time, that reputation becomes one of your greatest assets. Another part of building trust is fairness. Treat people by the same standard regardless of their position, background, or opinions. Bias, favoritism, and hidden agendas are poison to leadership. People notice how you treat those who cannot benefit you. When you are fair in both praise and criticism, you show that your judgment is guided by principles, not personal interest. Fairness earns respect that lasts longer than charm or charisma ever will. Trust requires patience. It cannot be rushed. It develops slowly, through consistent actions repeated over time. The more dependable you are, the more others feel confident placing their trust in you. But one careless act of dishonesty, one moment of hypocrisy, can undo months of progress. That is why great leaders guard their integrity as their greatest resource. Once lost, trust is hard to rebuild. Building trust also means protecting others. Confidence. When someone shares something personal or sensitive, respect that privacy. Do not use their vulnerability as gossip. When people know you honor confidentiality, they begin to see you as a safe space. In every group or organization, trust flows toward those who handle others' words with care. That kind of trust strengthens teamwork, creativity, and emotional security. Another essential part of trust is humility. Arrogance distances people. When you believe you are above others, you break connection. A humble leader acknowledges that every person brings something valuable to the table. You do not need to be the loudest voice to be respected. You only need to be genuine. Humility shows that your leadership is about service, not superiority. And when people sense that you lead for a purpose beyond ego, their trust deepens naturally. Leaders who build trust also practice emotional control. When you stay composed under stress, you create stability for those around you. People learn to rely on your calmness as a source of guidance, but when you lose control, shout in frustration, or blame others impulsively, trust quickly erodes. Emotional steadiness communicates strength more powerfully than force ever could. Building trust daily requires discipline. It means choosing integrity when shortcuts seem tempting. It means being kind when criticism would be easier. It means taking time to understand before judging. Every choice either strengthens or weakens the invisible bond between you and those you lead. The more intentional your actions, the stronger that bond becomes. A simple way to build trust every day is through small consistency, showing up on time, doing what you say, keeping communication open, and giving credit where it is due. Over time, these small habits build a reputation that speaks louder than any words. People stop questioning your intentions because your behavior already proves them. The leaders remembered the longest are not those who spoke the loudest, but those who could be trusted the most. Trust turns leadership from authority into influence. When people believe in your integrity, they give you their full attention, effort, and loyalty. That kind of commitment cannot be bought. It must be earned, one honest action at a time. Each day gives you the opportunity to strengthen that trust. In your words, your tone, your follow-through, and your decisions, you send a message: you can rely on me. Over time, that message becomes your identity. And when people trust your character, they will stand with you even when the path is uncertain. In the end, trust is not something you demand, it is something you deserve through consistent action. It is built quietly, moment by moment, through honesty, consistency, and genuine care. The more you give those three qualities, the stronger your influence becomes. When you lead with integrity, people do not just follow you, they believe in you. And that belief is what transforms leadership into something lasting and meaningful. Chapter 3. Communicate clearly so others feel seen, heard, and valued. Good communication is the bridge that connects leadership with understanding. No one can lead effectively if their words confuse, distance, or silence others. The ability to communicate clearly is not about speaking more, it's about creating connection. When people feel seen, heard, and valued in your presence, they begin to trust your direction and believe in your vision. Clear communication is not just a skill, it is an act of respect. It tells others that their thoughts matter, their voices count, and their presence has meaning. Leadership communication is about presence, not performance. Many speak with authority but fail to connect because their words lack empathy. People listen with their emotions before they process with their minds. They don't remember every sentence you speak, but they remember how you made them feel while speaking. The moment you make someone feel invisible or misunderstood, their willingness to engage begins to fade. But when you listen deeply, express yourself simply, and respond with sincerity, you create a sense of belonging that strengthens every relationship. To communicate clearly, you must first understand that listening is more important than talking. Listening is not waiting for your turn to speak. It is giving your full attention to another person without judgment or distraction. It means you are not trying to win the conversation or prove your intelligence, you are trying to understand. When people sense that you are genuinely interested in their words, they open up naturally. They feel safe to share truth instead of pretending to agree. That safety builds respect. The foundation of clear communication is presence. When you speak to someone, give them your full focus. Put away your phone, pause your thoughts, and be there. Presence communicates that the person in front of you matters more than your agenda. It shows that you value their humanity, beyond their role or function. The greatest gift you can give someone in a conversation is your undivided attention. Clarity also means expressing ideas in a way that others can understand easily. Many people confuse complexity with intelligence, but clarity is the real sign of wisdom. If you cannot explain an idea in simple words, you may not fully understand it yourself. When you communicate, speak plainly. Choose words that are honest, direct, and kind. Avoid exaggeration, sarcasm, or unnecessary decoration. People appreciate straightforward communication that respects their time and intelligence. It is equally important to match your tone with your intention. Words carry weight, but tone carries emotion. A harsh tone can make even good advice sound like criticism, while a calm and kind tone can make difficult truths easier to hear. Before speaking, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what is my intention right now? If your goal is to guide, inspire, or correct, do it in a pants way that protects dignity. Communication is not about proving you are right, it is about helping others grow. Empathy is another essential part of clear communication. To make others feel heard, you must be willing to see the world from their perspective. Empathy means you do not dismiss their feelings, even if you disagree with their view. It means you acknowledge their experience before offering your own. For example, saying, "I can see why that frustrated you," is far more powerful than "you shouldn't feel that way." The first opens connection, the second shuts it down. When communicating as a leader, always remember that people respond more to how you handle disagreement than how you handle agreement. Anyone can speak kindly when everyone agrees, but true clarity shows when conflict arises. Stay calm, listen without interrupting, and focus on understanding the reasoning behind the other person's words. Even when you must make a firm decision, communicate it with respect. People can accept tough choices if they feel their voice was genuinely heard in the process. Clarity also comes from consistency between words and actions. If what you say does not match what you do, your message loses power. People pay more attention to your behavior than your statements. Every time your actions align with your communication, you reinforce trust. When your words and behavior are out of sync, you create confusion and doubt. Clarity is not just about speaking well, it's about living your message. To help others feel seen, use small but meaningful gestures. Call people by their names, acknowledge their efforts in specific ways, ask about their opinions before sharing yours. Look them in the eye when they speak. These actions might seem simple, but they carry deep emotional weight. They tell people, "You matter." In a world full of noise, being genuinely noticed is rare and unforgettable. Another key to effective communication is patience. Sometimes, people struggle to express themselves clearly, especially when emotions are involved. A great communicator does not rush to fill the silence. They allow space for thought, for hesitation, for vulnerability. Silence can be powerful. It gives others time to find their words and gives you time to listen without assumption. When people feel they can express themselves without fear of interruption, honesty flows more freely. Clear communication also requires courage. It means speaking truth when silence would be easier. It means addressing misunderstandings directly instead of letting resentment grow. Avoiding hard conversations does not preserve peace. It only delays clarity. When handled with respect and calm, difficult conversations build stronger relationships. People respect those who can be both honest and kind at the same time. A leader who communicates clearly also gives feedback thoughtfully. Criticism delivered without care wounds the spirit. Feedback given with empathy helps. People improve. When you correct someone, focus on the behavior, not the person. Instead of saying, "You're not responsible," say, "This task wasn't completed as expected. How can we improve it next time?" Small differences in language can completely change how your message is received. Constructive communication uplifts instead of humiliating. In the same way, positive reinforcement strengthens relationships. Take the time to express appreciation when people do well. Gratitude multiplies motivation. When people feel seen for their contributions, they naturally want to give more. Recognition does not require grand gestures. A few sincere words can make a lasting difference. To make others feel valued, also be transparent. Explain the reasons behind your decisions whenever possible. People are more likely to accept outcomes they don't like when they understand the reasoning behind them. Hiding information creates doubt. Sharing your thought process builds respect. Transparency shows that you trust people with the truth, and they, in turn, learn to trust you. Clear communication also thrives on simplicity in daily interactions. Say what you mean, and mean what you say. Avoid overpromising. Speak directly, but with warmth. When you give instructions or share ideas, be sure that everyone understands. Ask questions like, "How do you see this working?" or "What do you think about this plan?" Encouraging two-way communication prevents confusion and builds shared understanding. Emotional intelligence plays a vital role here. Pay attention to nonverbal cues, the tone, facial expressions, and body language that reveal more than words ever could. If someone seems distant or tense, pause and address it gently. Sometimes what people cannot say out loud needs to be heard through presence. Being emotionally aware helps you catch what is left unsaid. Good communicators also adapt to their audience. Some people need detailed explanations, others prefer concise summaries. Some respond well to encouragement, others appreciate directness. Flexibility in communication shows emotional maturity. When you adjust your style to help others understand better, you show respect for their individuality. Clarity also involves checking understanding. Instead of assuming that people understood you, ask them to share what they took away from the discussion. Misunderstanding is one of the most common causes of failure in teams. Taking a few moments to confirm clarity can prevent major problems later. Finally, clear communication is built on genuine respect. You do not need to agree with everyone, but you must treat every person with dignity. Respectful communication invites cooperation, while condescension breeds resistance. Every conversation is a chance to either strengthen or weaken a connection. Choose your words carefully, not out of fear, but out of awareness of their impact. When people walk away from a conversation with you feeling understood, they remember that feeling long after the words fade. That is the power of clear communication. It humanizes leadership. It turns authority into connection, and connection into influence. To make others feel seen, heard, and valued is to remind them that they belong, that their presence matters, and that their voice makes a difference. When you master that kind of communication, you don't just lead people, you inspire them to lead with the same grace, honesty, and respect. Chapter 4. Inspire action by setting the example every single day. People do not follow instructions as much as they follow examples. Leadership that relies on commands quickly fades, but leadership that shows the way through consistent action leaves a lasting mark. The most powerful influence you can ever have comes from the way you live. Every day, the way you show up, the effort you give, and the standards you uphold silently teach others what is possible. When your behavior becomes proof of your values, you inspire action without needing to demand it. Inspiration begins when others see you practicing what you talk about. Words can motivate for a moment, but actions move people for a lifetime. A leader who tells others to work hard but cuts corners loses credibility instantly. A leader who speaks about patience but acts impulsively teaches contradiction. The people around you pay more attention to what you do in difficult moments than to what you say in easy ones. When your choices consistently reflect commitment and integrity, you become the kind of person others naturally want to follow. To set an example, you must first decide what kind of standard you want to represent. Every day is a chance to either reinforce or weaken that standard. If you show up late, others think punctuality is optional. If you speak carelessly, others assume honesty is negotiable. But if you lead with precision, respect, and humility, those around you begin to reflect the same behavior. Leadership multiplies through imitation. The environment you build will always mirror your habits. Setting the example requires awareness. You must realize that people are always watching, not to judge, but to understand what leadership truly looks like. They watch how you handle stress, how you treat those with less power, and how you respond when things go wrong. They notice your tone, your patience, and your discipline. Every gesture teaches something. Even silence can communicate strength or fear. The consistency between your words and your actions determines whether people trust your influence. If you want others to give their best, you must show them what giving your best looks like. That does not mean being perfect or pretending to have no flaws. It means showing effort, perseverance, and humility. It means owning your mistakes and fixing them without excuses. It means holding yourself accountable before holding anyone else accountable. When others see you take responsibility, they feel encouraged to do the same. Responsibility is contagious when modeled with sincerity. Leaders who inspire through example live with intention. They do not rely on mood or circumstance to decide their behavior. They choose to act according to principle even when no one is watching. They stay disciplined on quiet days when no applause exists. That quiet consistency builds credibility. The people who depend on you need to know that your commitment does not change with conditions. When they see that steadiness, it creates trust strong enough to carry a group through hard times. Inspiring action through example also means showing courage. It is easy to speak about boldness when everything feels safe. But real courage is demonstrated when uncertainty rises. When a leader faces challenges with composure and forward motion, others learn that fear can be faced rather than avoided. They begin to believe in their own ability to handle pressure because they have seen you handle it with strength. Courage is not about pretending fear does not exist. It is about acting with purpose in spite of it. The way you handle setbacks speaks louder than the way you celebrate success. Anyone can look confident when everything goes right. True inspiration comes from how you respond when things fall apart. If you react with blame or frustration, people learn to fear mistakes. If you stay calm, assess the problem, and start again with determination, people learn resilience. They see that failure is not the end, but a step in learning. The more you show perseverance, the more you awaken it in others. Leadership through example also requires humility. People connect deeply with leaders who are grounded and approachable. When others see that you are willing to listen, to learn, and to admit what you do not know, they feel safe growing under your guidance. Humility inspires cooperation because it removes distance. You do not have to stand above others to lead them. You only need to stand beside them with integrity. When your example shows humility, you create an environment where everyone feels part of the mission. To inspire daily, pay attention to the details of your behavior. How you greet people in the morning, how you respond to mistakes, how you manage time, these small moments carry great influence. When you show consistency in the smallest things, it teaches others to care about excellence, not just results. Every routine and habit you build is a message about what you value. Excellence becomes culture when it is seen, not when it is preached. Your energy also sets the tone for everyone around you. A leader who walks into a room with negativity drains motivation instantly. But a leader who brings calmness, confidence, and quiet strength lifts everyone's mindset. You cannot control every circumstance, but you can control your presence. A steady and positive presence inspires commitment far more than force ever could. People mirror your energy, whether you realize it or not. Another essential part of setting the example is consistency in ethics. The true test of character comes when no one is looking. When you make the right choice, even when it offers no immediate benefit, others learn the meaning of integrity. They see that your moral standards are not negotiable. Ethics demonstrated through daily behavior remind people that leadership is not a title, it is a moral responsibility. Each time you choose honesty over convenience, you strengthen the moral foundation of your influence. Inspiring action is not about giving orders, it is about awakening purpose. When people witness your dedication, they begin to see what is possible for themselves. Your persistence shows them that success is built on effort, not luck. Your patience shows them that great results take time. Your discipline shows them that small actions repeated daily create extraordinary outcomes. You inspire not by telling people what to do, but by showing them what works. To maintain this influence, you must practice self-awareness. Ask yourself regularly, am I being the example I would want to follow? That question keeps your leadership grounded. When your focus shifts from proving yourself to improving yourself, you naturally set a stronger example. People respect growth more than perfection. They relate to those who evolve, who adapt, and who remain genuine in the process. Setting the example also requires emotional balance. When emotions rule your reactions, your message becomes unpredictable. But when you remain composed and thoughtful, you create an atmosphere of stability. People perform better under leaders who stay balanced, even in uncertainty. Calmness inspires confidence. Impulsiveness creates confusion. The way you handle your inner world shapes how others experience their outer one. Consistency in example means showing fairness in every situation. People watch how you treat everyone, especially those with less influence. When you show respect to everyone equally, you demonstrate justice and equality. That fairness inspires unity. It proves that leadership is not about privilege, but about responsibility. Fairness practiced daily builds loyalty that cannot be bought. To inspire others, you must also stay connected to your purpose. When you live with a clear sense of why you do what you do, your actions naturally gain strength. Purpose fuels consistency. It keeps you disciplined when motivation fades. When others see that you are guided by vision rather than ego, they trust your leadership more deeply. They see authenticity in your choices. Purpose-driven action communicates a quiet but powerful message. Follow-through matters more than attention. Small examples often carry the greatest impact. When you clean up after yourself, people notice. When you take time to thank someone sincerely, people remember. When you stay calm during tension, people feel safer. Every action sends a message about what matters to you. Over time, those small examples shape the identity of your team, your community, or your family. Great cultures are not created through speeches, they are built through repeated example. True leadership is tested when no one is watching, and proven when others start acting the way you do. If your people become more patient, more disciplined, and more honest over time, it means your example has reached them. That is the quiet legacy of genuine leadership. Influence that grows through example lasts far longer than influence that depends on authority. Inspiring action by setting the example is not a one-time effort, it is a way of life. Each morning gives you a new chance to live your message. The more you practice consistency, humility, and purpose in your behavior, the more others begin to rise alongside you. They learn not from your instructions, but from your demonstration of character. Leadership by example does not need applause, it simply needs discipline. And when you stay true to that discipline every single day, you create a ripple of inspiration that continues long after your words are forgotten. Chapter 5. Make decisions with courage, even when the outcome is uncertain. Every leader eventually reaches moments when the path ahead is unclear and the choices are heavy. These are the moments that define character. Courage in decision-making is not about the absence of fear, it is about choosing to act despite it. The world respects those who move forward even when certainty is impossible. Courageous decisions shape progress because they come from conviction rather than comfort. When you learn to decide with courage, you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating them through your actions. Many people hesitate to make decisions because they fear being wrong. They want more information, more approval, more reassurance. But leadership requires the understanding that no decision will ever be free of risk. The pursuit of absolute certainty leads only to stagnation. Growth happens when you choose direction over hesitation. Every major achievement begins with a choice that carried no guarantee. The courage to decide is what separates those who lead from those who wait for others to decide for them. Making courageous decisions begins with clarity of values. When your values are strong, your choices become clearer, even in uncertainty. You do not need to predict the future to make the right move. You only need to know what you stand for. Values act as a compass. They guide you through the fog of doubt. When you base decisions on principles instead of pressure, you gain peace, even if the result is difficult. Integrity provides stability when outcomes are unpredictable. Fear will always whisper the reasons to stay still. It will tell you to wait until the timing is better or until you feel ready. But leadership requires acting while fear still exists. Courage grows each time you move forward without full assurance. The first time feels terrifying, but with every courageous decision, you strengthen your ability to trust your judgment. Waiting for fear to disappear is waiting forever. The only way to quiet fear is through movement. A courageous leader is not reckless. Courage is not impulsive action, it is deliberate action with awareness of risk. It means you analyze the situation, understand the possible consequences, and still choose to move forward because inaction would cost more. Many opportunities are lost not because the wrong choice was made, but because no choice was made at all. Indecision drains momentum and breeds confusion. Even a decision that requires adjustment later keeps progress alive. When facing uncertainty, it helps to ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen if I choose this path? Often, you realize the worst-case scenario is survivable, and the cost of doing nothing is greater. Fear magnifies imagined danger. Once you confront it logically, the pressure loses power. Courageous leaders do not ignore fear. They measure it, understand it, and then move forward despite it. They know that progress depends on taking the next step, not knowing the entire road. Courageous decision-making also means accepting responsibility for the outcomes. When you make a decision, own it completely. If it goes well, share the credit. If it fails, take the blame. Nothing builds trust faster than accountability. People respect leaders who stand by their choices instead of hiding behind excuses. Accepting responsibility does not weaken authority, it strengthens it. It shows that your confidence is not dependent on perfection, but on integrity. To decide with courage, you must also develop emotional steadiness. Emotions cloud judgment when they control your thinking. Anger, pride, or fear can lead to reactive decisions that cause regret. Before making an important choice, take a step back. Breathe. Ask yourself whether you are responding from principle or emotion. Courageous decisions are not emotional outbursts, they are calm, firm commitments made after reflection. Composure allows clarity to guide courage. Courage is also about trusting your preparation. Confidence does not come from arrogance. It comes from knowing that you have trained your mind to handle challenges. The more disciplined your habits, the stronger your judgment becomes. When you consistently learn, reflect, and grow, you develop the inner strength to make decisions with conviction. You stop relying on luck and start relying on character. Preparation makes courage possible because it gives you the tools to handle uncertainty. When the outcome is unclear, focus on what you can control: your effort, your attitude, and your intention. You cannot guarantee success, but you can guarantee integrity in how you pursue it. When you make decisions from a place of honesty and commitment, you can face any result without regret. Leadership requires that level of emotional maturity, the ability to stand by your decision even when the world questions it. Courage also requires the strength to go against popular opinion. Sometimes the right decision will not be the most accepted one. There will be times when you must choose what is best, not what is easiest or most liked. The courage to stand alone is rare, but it is the mark of authentic leadership. True leaders are willing to carry the weight of temporary criticism in exchange for long-term progress. History remembers those who had the courage to choose principle over approval. Every decision carries uncertainty because life is unpredictable. The future cannot be fully planned or controlled. But uncertainty does not mean paralysis. It means possibility. When you view uncertainty as a space for growth instead of a source of fear, you turn decision-making into a creative act. You begin to trust the process, knowing that every outcome, good or bad, teaches you something that refines your next choice. Progress is built through this cycle of decision, learning, and adjustment. Courageous decision-making is also about speed and timing. Delay often kills opportunity. Waiting too long to act allows doubt to multiply. The longer you hesitate, the more reasons your mind invents to avoid risk. Sometimes, the right decision is not the one that guarantees success, but the one that moves you forward while others are still thinking. Momentum itself builds clarity. Once you take a step, the next step becomes easier to see. When leading others, your courage to decide gives them permission to act as well. Uncertainty spreads quickly, but so does courage. When people see you making clear decisions under pressure, they feel more confident in following your direction. You become a source of stability because your conviction replaces their fear. Every decisive act you take teaches your team how to trust their own judgment. Leadership by example applies to courage as much as to discipline. It is important to remember that mistakes are inevitable, even for the most courageous leaders. What defines you is not whether every decision turns out perfectly, but how you respond when it doesn't. Failure faced with humility becomes wisdom. Failure denied becomes weakness. Courage means being open to correction, willing to learn, and unafraid to start again with better understanding. Each setback refines your instinct, strengthening your ability to decide more effectively in the future. The weight of leadership can be heavy when outcomes affect others. That pressure can make decision-making feel overwhelming. But courage grows when you remind yourself why you lead in the first place. You are not called to make every decision perfectly. You are called to make them with honesty, effort, and care. When your motivation is service, not ego, the fear of failure loses much of its power. People trust leaders who make decisions with sincere intention rather than self-interest. Courageous decisions require perspective. When fear feels strong, zoom out. Ask yourself whether this decision will matter in 5 years. Most of the time, what feels enormous now will appear smaller with distance. This mental shift restores balance and helps you act without panic. Perspective gives you the confidence to move forward with reason instead of reacting with fear. To strengthen your decision-making courage, practice it in small ways every day. Decide quickly on small matters to build the habit of action. Face small fears regularly to train resilience. The more often you practice courage, the less intimidating it feels. Courage is a muscle. It grows with consistent use. Each small act of bravery prepares you for larger challenges. When you commit to making decisions with courage, you begin to live with greater freedom. You stop being controlled by doubt and start acting with purpose. You understand that progress requires risk and that leadership is not about knowing every outcome. It is about trusting yourself to handle whatever outcome arises. Courageous decision-making transforms leadership from reaction into creation. It allows you to shape the future rather than wait for it to unfold. Every bold choice, every honest stand, every difficult yes or no becomes part of your legacy. People will forget the small details of your decisions, but they will remember your courage to make them. To make decisions with courage is to declare that fear will not decide for you. It is to step forward when others freeze. It is to accept uncertainty as the cost of progress. And it is to lead not because you have every answer, but because you have the strength to take the first step when no one else will. That is where true leadership lives, in the quiet, steady courage to decide when the outcome is still unknown. Chapter 6. Empower others to grow by believing in their potential. True leadership is not measured by how much power you hold, but by how much power you give. The ability to empower others to help them believe in their own potential is what separates ordinary leaders from transformative ones. A great leader looks at people not as they are, but as they could become. They see potential where others see limits. They recognize ability before it becomes obvious. They treat every person as someone capable of growth, change, and excellence. That belief has the power to awaken something extraordinary in others. People grow faster when someone believes in them. Many never reach their potential because they have never had anyone look at them with genuine confidence. When someone sees value in you before you can see it yourself, something changes inside. You begin to act differently. You begin to trust that you can do more than you once thought possible. That is the essence of empowerment, helping people see what they can become and giving them the space to prove it. Empowering others starts with trust. You cannot help someone grow if you do not trust them with responsibility. Too many leaders hold on to control out of fear that others might fail, but growth never happens without risk. If you want people to develop, you must give them opportunities to try, to make mistakes, and to learn. Trust does not mean handing over everything at once. It means allowing space for progress. It is giving people the chance to succeed by showing faith in their ability. Believing in others also means focusing on their strengths rather than their weaknesses. It is easy to criticize what someone lacks, but great leaders build from what is already working. They see potential even in small efforts and nurture it with encouragement and patience. When people feel recognized for what they do well, they become more open to improvement in other areas. Confidence grows from acknowledgement, not constant correction. Empowerment requires patience because growth takes time. People do not change overnight. They need guidance, consistency, and understanding. A leader's belief becomes their foundation during moments of doubt. When you remind someone that you see greatness in them, even when they make mistakes, you give them strength to keep going. Many give up too early simply because no one told them they were capable of continuing. Your belief becomes the voice that replaces their fear. To empower others effectively, you must listen deeply. Growth begins with understanding. Everyone has different motivations, fears, and ways of learning. When you take time to know the person behind the task, you can guide them more meaningfully. Listening communicates that you value their perspective and experience. It shows respect for who they are, not just what they produce. People respond best to leaders who make them feel heard. Empowerment also involves sharing knowledge freely. A true leader does not hoard wisdom, they pass it on. When you teach someone what you have learned, you multiply progress. Every piece of insight you give strengthens not just one person but the whole group. Great leaders are generous with their experience. They remember that knowledge has no value unless it is used to elevate others. Teaching is one of the purest forms of empowerment. You empower people not only by giving them answers, but by helping them find their own. When you encourage others to think, to question, and to make decisions, you develop their independence. Leadership is not about creating followers, it is about creating more leaders. Empowered individuals can make choices confidently without needing constant approval. They bring ideas, solve problems, and contribute with initiative. That kind of empowerment multiplies progress in ways control never can. Empowering others also means recognizing effort, not just results. Growth is not always visible immediately. People need to know that their effort matters even when outcomes are still forming. A few sincere words acknowledging persistence can renew motivation. Recognition should be specific and genuine, pointing out what was done well, not just offering vague praise. Authentic appreciation inspires continuous effort. When you believe in someone's potential, you must also challenge them. Empowerment is not about making people comfortable, it is about helping them reach beyond their comfort zone. Growth happens when people stretch their limits. A supportive leader knows how to balance encouragement with challenge, offering enough pressure to drive improvement, but enough understanding to prevent discouragement. This balance teaches resilience. It communicates, "I know you can handle this, and I'm here if you fall." The act of believing in others also means forgiving mistakes. Failure is part of growth. When someone makes an error, do not let that define them. Use it as a teaching moment. Help them reflect, adjust, and try again. People who feel safe to fail are more likely to take initiative. Fear of judgment kills creativity and confidence. Empowerment thrives in an environment where mistakes are seen as lessons, not punishments. One of the greatest gifts you can give someone is confidence. Confidence built on genuine encouragement becomes an unshakable force. You give that gift by reminding people of their progress, their strengths, and their worth. Sometimes a single conversation can change how someone sees themselves. A quiet statement like, "I believe in you," may seem small, but it can echo for years in someone's heart. Leadership is not only about strategy, it is about awakening belief in others. To empower others, you must also lead with humility. You must be willing to step back and allow others to shine. Some leaders feel threatened by the growth of those around them, but secure leaders celebrate it. They find joy in seeing others surpass them. When you empower people to rise, you elevate everyone, including yourself. Humility turns leadership from competition into collaboration. Empowering others requires consistency. Belief must be shown through daily actions, not occasional words. It means being reliable in your support, patient in your teaching, and steady in your example. People should never have to wonder whether you are on their side. The more consistent your belief, the more deeply others internalize it. Over time, your confidence in them becomes their confidence in themselves. Creating a culture of empowerment also means sharing decision-making. When you involve others in planning and problem-solving, they feel ownership of the outcome. Ownership fuels motivation. It teaches accountability. When people feel their opinions matter, they invest more of themselves in the mission. Shared responsibility builds collective strength. Empowerment turns a group of individuals into a unified force, moving toward a common purpose. Empowering others is not about giving them everything they ask for. It is about giving them what they need to grow. Sometimes that means giving honest feedback, even when it is uncomfortable. Guidance given with respect helps people see blind spots they cannot notice alone. The goal is not criticism, but improvement. When feedback is combined with belief, it becomes fuel for transformation. Believing in others also means celebrating their achievements sincerely. When someone succeeds, honor their work. Do not minimize their success out of pride or comparison. Recognition strengthens the sense of progress and reinforces self-worth. A culture that celebrates growth creates energy, unity, and optimism. People who feel valued naturally strive to do more. Empowerment requires emotional intelligence. You must be able to sense when someone needs encouragement, when they need challenge, and when they simply need to be reminded of their worth. Great leaders pay attention to moods, tone, and unspoken signals. They adapt their approach to meet people where they are. Emotional awareness allows you to guide with both strength and compassion. At its core, empowerment is about believing that people are capable of greatness. It means seeing potential before it becomes performance. It means choosing faith in others, even when they doubt themselves. When you lead with that kind of belief, you create ripples of confidence that extend far beyond you. Empowered people empower others in return. The impact multiplies. When you empower others to grow, you transform leadership into legacy. Your influence continues long after you are gone because it lives in the people you've lifted. You will be remembered not for how much control you had, but for how many lives you helped rise. Every moment you choose to believe in someone, you plant a seed that may one day change the world. Empowerment is not an act of leadership, it is the heart of it. Chapter 7. Stay calm under pressure, to guide with steady focus. Pressure exposes what is real within a person. It reveals whether one acts from strength or from panic. When challenges intensify and uncertainty rises, the ability to stay calm becomes a leader's greatest advantage. Calmness is not passivity, it is controlled awareness. It means maintaining clarity when chaos surrounds you, keeping focus when others lose direction, and staying composed when fear tries to take over. The calm leader is not immune to stress. They have simply learned how to remain centered while facing it. In every difficult situation, there are two battles: the outer challenge and the inner reaction. Most people spend their energy trying to control the external problem, forgetting that clarity comes only when the inner world is steady. You cannot think clearly, decide wisely, or guide others effectively if your emotions are in turmoil. Calmness is not about denying emotion, it is about mastering it. It is the choice to remain still enough inside to see what truly matters. A calm leader brings stability to others. When people see that you do not break under pressure, they begin to trust your judgment. Your calm presence communicates safety, even when circumstances are unpredictable. People may not remember every word you say, but they will always remember how they felt when everything seemed uncertain and you remained grounded. That steady energy becomes a source of guidance more powerful than any instruction or speech. Staying calm under pressure begins with preparation. Stress feels overwhelming when you are unprepared. The more you plan, organize, and stay disciplined in daily life, the easier it becomes to handle chaos. When routines are strong, uncertainty has less control. Preparation gives confidence, and confidence allows calmness. You cannot control every situation, but you can control how prepared you are to meet it. Calmness also comes from acceptance. Many people lose control because they fight against reality. They waste energy wishing things were different instead of dealing with them as they are. Acceptance does not mean surrender. It means acknowledging the truth of the moment. Once you accept what you cannot change, you free your mind to focus on what you can influence. A clear mind makes effective decisions. Resistance to reality only deepens confusion. To stay calm, you must learn the art of pausing. A short pause between stimulus and response is the difference between reaction and leadership. When you pause, you give your mind time to separate emotion from reason. That brief silence allows understanding to surface. In moments of pressure, those who react instantly often make choices they later regret. Those who pause before speaking or acting create space for wisdom to guide them. Breathing is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools for maintaining calm. Under stress, breathing becomes shallow, which signals danger to the body. By slowing your breath, you tell your mind that you are safe. This small act lowers tension and restores focus. When you control your breath, you control your state. Every deep, deliberate breath brings your attention back to the present moment, where clarity always exists. Perspective is another key to calmness. When everything feels urgent, zoom out mentally and ask yourself how much this situation will matter in a year or even a month. Often, what feels critical in the moment is temporary. Expanding your perspective reduces emotional intensity. You begin to see the problem in context rather than as a catastrophe. Calm leaders see the bigger picture, while others get lost in details. Emotional discipline is built through practice. You must train your mind to stay steady under pressure long before the crisis arrives. This training happens in daily moments when traffic is slow, when someone interrupts you, when plans fall apart. Every small irritation is a chance to practice patience. If you can stay calm in minor discomfort, you build strength for greater challenges. Mastery of small moments creates control in big ones. Remaining calm also requires self-awareness. Notice what triggers your frustration, fear, or anxiety. Recognize the patterns in your reactions. The more aware you are of your emotional tendencies, the more power you have to change them. Calmness is not something that happens automatically. It is something you build through understanding yourself. Awareness is the first step toward control. A steady mind depends on healthy routines. Sleep, nutrition, and movement all affect emotional balance. Exhaustion magnifies stress, while a strong body supports a steady mind. Physical discipline is mental discipline in disguise. Taking care of your body gives your mind the resilience to handle pressure with composure. Small acts of self-care are not indulgence, they are preparation for leadership. When pressure increases, it is natural to feel tension, but calm leaders do not let emotion dictate behavior. They communicate clearly, think logically, and act decisively. They understand that panic spreads faster than reason, so they guard their energy carefully. They do not raise their voice to assert control, they use calmness to create it. The steadier they remain, the more others begin to mirror that steadiness. In high-pressure moments, focus on facts, not fears. Emotion clouds perception, but facts restore direction. Ask yourself, what is actually happening? What can I control? What is my next best step? Breaking large problems into smaller actions prevents overwhelm. Every time you take one clear step forward, you reduce the power of fear. Calmness grows when you focus on what can be done rather than what might go wrong. Maintaining composure does not mean avoiding emotion. It means processing emotion wisely. Suppressed frustration or fear eventually erupts. Calm leaders allow themselves to feel but choose when and how to express it. They speak with intention instead of impulse. This emotional maturity prevents unnecessary conflict and builds respect. People trust leaders who can express strength without aggression. When others around you are panicking, your calmness becomes their anchor. In moments of collective stress, your tone, posture, and words can shift the entire atmosphere. A single calm presence can settle a room full of anxiety. It does not require speeches, it requires steadiness. You guide others most effectively not by telling them to calm down, but by showing them what calm looks like. Clarity often follows calm. When your mind is still, you see options that panic hides. You notice solutions that were invisible before. Calmness brings perspective, and perspective brings better judgment. The leader who can stay composed sees paths forward, while others only see obstacles. That is why the greatest decisions in history were made by those who could stay still inside, even as the world around them was moving fast. To remain steady under pressure, remind yourself of your purpose. When you know why you are acting, temporary stress loses power. Purpose gives meaning to struggle. It transforms anxiety into focus. Leaders who are grounded in purpose do not crumble under difficulty. They channel energy toward progress. Every time you return to your purpose, you regain direction. Calmness also requires humility. You must accept that you cannot control every outcome or predict every challenge. Trying to manage everything creates tension. Instead, control what you can and release what you cannot. Calm leaders understand that doing their best is enough. That acceptance keeps their minds free from unnecessary worry and their energy directed toward what matters most. Developing calm under pressure also means surrounding yourself with stability. The company you keep affects your emotional state. Spend time with people who bring clarity, not chaos. Leaders who value composure create teams that thrive on focus and trust. Calmness is contagious when practiced consistently. It sets the emotional tone for everyone who follows your lead. The ability to remain calm is a sign of inner strength. Anyone can appear confident when life is easy, but true steadiness reveals itself in challenge. Calm leaders do not chase control, they embody it. They understand that their reaction shapes the reaction of everyone around them. When you stay calm under pressure, you become the steady hand that keeps others moving forward. In every difficult moment, you have a choice: to react or to lead. Calmness gives you the space to choose wisely. It allows you to guide others not through panic, but through example. The world does not need louder leaders. It needs steadier ones, people who can hold peace within themselves while leading others through uncertainty. Remaining calm under pressure is not a natural gift. It is a daily practice of awareness, patience, and discipline. Each time you stay composed when tension rises, you strengthen your ability to lead with wisdom. Each time you choose clarity over chaos, you build trust that lasts. And each time you guide with steady focus, you show others that true strength is not about force, it is about presence. Chapter 8. Listen deeply to understand before offering any direction. The mark of a wise leader is not how much they speak, but how deeply they listen. Listening is one of the rarest and most powerful forms of respect a person can give. It is through listening that understanding begins, trust forms, and genuine connection grows. When a leader listens with full attention, others feel valued and safe to express what they truly think. But when listening is shallow or distracted, communication becomes empty. Real listening is more than waiting for your turn to talk. It is the art of setting aside your ego to understand the person in front of you. To listen deeply means to give your full presence. It is not enough to hear the words. You must sense the emotions, intentions, and meaning behind them. Most people listen to reply. They prepare their answer before the other person even finishes speaking. Deep listening is different. It requires silence inside your mind. It means resisting the urge to interrupt, correct, or fix. It means allowing space for someone else's perspective to exist without judgment. When you do that, people open up in ways they never would if they felt analyzed or dismissed. Leadership often demands making decisions and giving guidance, but direction given without understanding is hollow. When you rush to speak before you truly understand, you risk solving the wrong problem or overlooking what matters most. People don't need quick answers as much as they need to feel that their thoughts matter. Listening is how you gather the insight necessary to lead with precision. The more deeply you understand the situation and the people involved, the wiser your direction will be. Listening begins with humility. You must accept that you do not know everything. Every person you meet knows something you do not. When you approach conversations with the mindset of a learner instead of a judge, your understanding expands. Humility creates space for truth to appear. If you believe you already know, you stop hearing. But if you listen with curiosity, even disagreement becomes an opportunity to learn something valuable. To listen deeply, your attention must be undivided. Distractions destroy connection. Checking your phone, looking around, or thinking about your next task sends a clear message that the other person is not your priority. True listening demands focus. Look the person in the eyes. Notice their tone, their pauses, their expressions. These subtle details often reveal more than words. Listening with your whole attention shows respect far greater than any title or compliment. Many conflicts exist not because of malice, but because people feel unheard. When someone feels misunderstood, they stop cooperating and start defending. Listening prevents that. It diffuses tension because people feel acknowledged. They no longer have to fight to prove their perspective. Even if you do not agree with them, the act of being heard calms their emotions and opens space for rational discussion. Listening is not a sign of weakness, it is a strategy of strength. Deep listening also means asking thoughtful questions. Questions show interest and help you uncover the root of an issue. Instead of making assumptions, ask for clarity. Simple questions like, "Can you tell me more about that?" Or, "What do you think is the real challenge here?" Invite honesty. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your understanding. Leaders who ask before they instruct earn more respect because they show care before control. Listening requires patience. Sometimes people struggle to express themselves. They need time to organize their thoughts. Interrupting or rushing them sends the message that your time matters more than their voice. Patience builds trust because it shows that you value their contribution. Silence can be uncomfortable, but in leadership, silence often speaks louder than quick advice. It gives others space to think and reveal what they truly feel. When you listen deeply, you also learn to hear what is not being said. People often hide their real concerns behind polite words or surface-level complaints. A leader who listens beneath the surface can sense the deeper issue. This awareness comes from empathy, being attuned not only to words but to emotions. You notice changes in tone, hesitation, or energy. You recognize pain or fear behind calm language. Such awareness allows you to respond to the real need instead of the visible symptom. Listening also teaches you perspective. It reminds you that every person views the world through a different lens shaped by their experience. By listening, you step into their reality for a moment. You see the problem from their side. That understanding builds compassion, and compassion builds cooperation. When people know you genuinely care to understand, they will follow your guidance even when it is difficult. To truly understand, you must release the need to win every conversation. Many leaders listen only to find flaws or prove superiority. That attitude closes the door to growth. Listening should not be a performance of patience, it should be a genuine desire to connect. Understanding others does not mean you agree with everything they say. It means you value their humanity enough to hear them fully. Listening deeply also strengthens decision-making. When you have multiple viewpoints, you see the situation more clearly. Decisions made from partial understanding often lead to unnecessary mistakes. The best solutions come from gathering insight from those who are closest to the issue. Leaders who listen before deciding build teams that feel valued because people see their input shaping real outcomes. This shared sense of purpose increases unity and morale. When you listen to people sincerely, you also encourage them to listen to one another. Respect breeds respect. Over time, your example of attentive listening becomes part of the culture. Meetings become more productive because people speak to share ideas, not to compete. Misunderstandings decrease because communication becomes honest and thoughtful. Listening is not only a personal skill, it is a cultural foundation. There will be moments when listening feels difficult, especially when emotions are high or criticism is directed toward you. Yet those are the moments when listening matters most. It takes strength to hear words that challenge your ego without reacting defensively. But calm listening under pressure shows maturity. It tells others that their voice matters even when it is uncomfortable to hear. That level of openness transforms relationships and earns deep respect. To practice deep listening, begin each conversation with intention. Before you speak, remind yourself that your goal is to understand, not to control. Clear your mind of assumptions. Give people your full presence. When they finish speaking, pause before responding. Reflect on what they said, not just what you think about it. Respond from understanding, not from reflex. The more mindful your listening becomes, the stronger your influence grows. Listening deeply also requires emotional detachment from outcome. Sometimes you may not like what you hear. The goal is not to agree with everything, but to comprehend before acting. Once you understand fully, your decisions become wiser and your guidance more effective. Understanding first prevents regret later. Leadership that listens builds bridges instead of walls. One of the greatest gifts you can give someone is the feeling of being truly understood. It changes how they see themselves. When someone realizes that their ideas matter to you, they begin to value their own thoughts more. That sense of worth inspires creativity and loyalty. Listening, therefore, becomes an act of empowerment. It tells people that their voice holds power. In a world where everyone is eager to speak, being the one who listens deeply sets you apart. It builds credibility without noise. It creates influence without force. It connects hearts as much as minds. The leader who listens before directing gains insight, builds unity, and earns trust that lasts far beyond words. To listen deeply, to understand before offering direction, is to embody patience, humility, and wisdom. It is to lead through presence rather than authority. It is to remind others that being heard is the beginning of healing, growth, and progress. The quiet strength of listening transforms conversations, relationships, and entire teams. And in the end, those who master listening lead not by volume, but by understanding. Chapter 9. Take responsibility fully for both success and failure outcomes. Taking full responsibility is one of the most defining traits of true leadership. It is the difference between those who talk about success and those who build it. Responsibility is not about taking credit when things go well. It is about owning every outcome, good or bad. When you take responsibility fully, you stop blaming, you stop making excuses, and you begin to take control of your life and leadership. Every decision, every result, every mistake becomes a reflection of your choices and your effort. This level of ownership creates power, the kind that can shape direction, earn trust, and build character. Leadership begins to lose integrity the moment blame enters the picture. Blame is the easiest escape from accountability. It allows people to protect their image at the cost of their integrity. But no one grows through blame. When you blame others for mistakes, you give away your power to improve. Taking responsibility keeps that power in your hands. It means you see yourself as the cause, not the victim, of your circumstances. You can only change what you own. That is why responsibility is not a burden, it is freedom. The strongest leaders never point fingers, they look inward first. When a project fails, they ask, "What could I have done differently?" When success arrives, they share credit with those who helped achieve it. This attitude earns loyalty because it shows fairness and humility. People are inspired by those who take responsibility without defensiveness. It tells them you are honest, dependable, and mature enough to face reality as it is. Responsibility builds respect faster than words ever can. Accepting responsibility requires courage because it often means confronting uncomfortable truths. It forces you to look at your mistakes without hiding behind excuses. Many people protect their ego by pretending that failures were caused by luck, timing, or others. But avoidance only delays growth. When you accept your part in every outcome, you become stronger and wiser. You learn lessons faster because you are willing to face them directly. Growth demands truth, and truth begins with ownership. Taking responsibility for success and failure also means seeing leadership as stewardship, not entitlement. Every role of influence comes with the duty to protect and guide, not just to benefit. When you lead people, their outcomes reflect your choices. If they succeed, celebrate them. If they struggle, support them. You are accountable not only for your actions but also for the environment you create. A leader's responsibility extends beyond personal results. It includes the well-being and growth of everyone they influence. Responsibility brings clarity. Once you stop blaming external factors, you begin to see patterns in your own behavior. You notice where your preparation was weak, where communication failed, where discipline slipped. This awareness allows you to make concrete improvements. Each time you take responsibility, you increase your control over the next outcome. You move from reacting to leading. You stop living by circumstance and start living by choice. True responsibility also includes emotional responsibility. You must take ownership of your reactions, your tone, and your energy. No matter what others say or do, how you respond is always your decision. Emotional responsibility means refusing to let external chaos dictate your internal state. When you choose composure over complaint, you lead yourself. And when you lead yourself, others trust you to lead them. People follow emotional stability, not emotional volatility. Owning your outcomes also builds resilience. When you accept that everything in your control is your responsibility, you stop seeing failure as a personal defeat. You start viewing it as part of the process. You stop wasting energy on frustration and direct it toward learning. Resilient leaders recover faster because they spend no time denying reality. They accept it, analyze it, and adjust. Responsibility removes resistance, allowing constant forward motion. Taking full ownership also means keeping promises and following through. When you say you will do something, you do it even if it becomes inconvenient. This consistency builds reliability, and reliability is the foundation of trust. People respect leaders whose words carry weight because they always match their actions. When you take responsibility for your commitments, Others know they can depend on you. That dependability creates stability in teams, families, and communities. Responsibility in leadership is also about transparency. When things go wrong, hiding mistakes damages credibility. Admitting them restores it. People don't expect perfection, but they do expect honesty. When you acknowledge errors quickly and outline how you will correct them, you show maturity. Transparency turns setbacks into teaching moments. It proves that you value truth over image. Over time, people trust a transparent leader more than a flawless one. Full responsibility also includes recognizing the role of effort. You cannot control outcomes completely, but you can always control your effort. When you give everything you have, you live without regret. When things don't work out despite your best effort, you can accept it with peace. Responsibility frees you from regret because it assures you that you did your part fully. Those who take responsibility never wonder, what if? They already know they gave their all. Blame and excuses destroy personal growth because they turn energy outward. The more time you spend explaining why something failed, the less time you have to fix it. Taking responsibility redirects energy inward, where real change happens. It shifts focus from the problem to the solution. The person who takes ownership asks, "What can I do now?" That question alone transforms frustration into progress. Owning success fully is equally important. It is easy to downplay your achievements out of false modesty or fear of appearing proud. But taking responsibility for your success means acknowledging the work you put in, the discipline you maintained, and the risks you took. It means recognizing that your results are not accidents but outcomes of deliberate choices. Celebrating success responsibly inspires others to aim higher because they see proof that commitment brings results. A responsible leader does not carry the weight of blame for everything, but accepts the duty to respond constructively. That's where the word responsibility comes from, the ability to respond. It's not about guilt, it's about choice. You can respond with learning, correction, and renewed effort. The one who takes responsibility does not drown in failure, they rebuild with strength. Each challenge becomes fuel for growth instead of an excuse for surrender. When people see you taking responsibility for both wins and losses, they begin to do the same. Your behavior sets the standard. Responsibility spreads through example. Teams that operate with shared accountability become stronger because no one wastes time shifting blame. Everyone focuses on solutions. The atmosphere changes from fear to trust, from judgment to collaboration. Responsibility transforms culture. To develop this habit, start small. Take ownership of minor errors instead of explaining them away. Admit when you forgot something, misjudged something, or could have done better. Each small act of accountability strengthens character. Over time, responsibility becomes instinctive. You no longer look for excuses because you no longer need them. You know your growth comes from every experience, whether it brings praise or pain. Taking responsibility fully also builds humility. It reminds you that success is never yours alone, and failure is never final. It teaches balance, the ability to stay grounded in both triumph and setback. You celebrate wins without arrogance and face failures without despair. You understand that both belong to you because both shape you. Responsibility keeps your ego in check and your purpose clear. There will always be moments when it feels easier to hide behind explanations or external causes. But those who lead with integrity know that the price of excuses is far greater than the cost of truth. When you take responsibility, you gain self-respect. You no longer depend on approval because you know your worth comes from your honesty and effort. That inner stability is what makes a leader unshakable. Taking responsibility fully for both success and failure outcomes is not just a principle, it is a way of life. It means standing tall in every circumstance, owning your role completely, and choosing growth over avoidance. It means being strong enough to say, "This was my decision, and I accept the result." It means leading not through perfection but through accountability. And when you live that way, you inspire others to rise to the same standard, to take control of their own choices, their own growth, and their own future. Chapter 10. Keep learning every day to lead with purpose and wisdom. A leader who stops learning stops leading. Growth is not a stage you reach, it is a daily discipline. The world changes constantly, people evolve, and situations shift faster than ever. The only way to remain wise and effective is to continue learning every single day. Learning keeps the mind sharp, the perspective open, and the spirit humble. It reminds you that no matter how much experience you have, there is always more to understand. When you commit to learning daily, leadership becomes less about control and more about discovery. Wisdom does not appear suddenly, it is built slowly through curiosity and reflection. Many people confuse age or position with wisdom, but true wisdom is not measured by years or titles. It is measured by how willing you are to keep improving. The best leaders never see themselves as finished products. They know that yesterday's knowledge can't solve tomorrow's challenges. They remain students of life, curious about people, ideas, and the lessons hidden in every experience. Learning every day means being open to insight from every direction. Books and mentors are valuable, but so are conversations, mistakes, and ordinary moments. Every person you meet knows something you don't. Every obstacle holds a hidden lesson. Every success teaches something about effort, timing, or preparation. When you learn to look at life as a classroom, nothing becomes wasted time. Everything good or bad adds to your understanding. To learn daily, you must begin with humility. Pride is the greatest barrier to growth. The moment you believe you already know enough, your progress stops. The wise leader understands that knowledge is endless. Humility opens the mind. Arrogance closes it. It takes strength to admit that there are better ways, newer ideas, and unexplored perspectives. A humble learner becomes adaptable, while a proud one becomes rigid. And in a changing world, rigidity is the first step toward decline. Curiosity fuels learning. It keeps your thinking alive. Ask questions often not to challenge others, but to expand your own understanding. Ask why things work the way they do. Ask how something could be improved. Ask what you can learn from the people around you. Curiosity turns leadership from repetition into evolution. When you stop asking questions, you stop growing. The leader who keeps asking never stops discovering. Daily learning also requires consistency. Knowledge compounds like savings in a bank. The more often you invest, the greater the return. Even 15 minutes of focused learning each day builds tremendous growth over time. Read something meaningful. Reflect on your day. Study people who inspire you. Write down insights before you forget them. Learning is not about intensity, it is about consistency. A few minutes daily will teach more than hours of random effort. To lead with purpose, you must first understand yourself. Learning is not only about gathering information, but also about developing self-awareness. Study your own habits, thoughts, and reactions. Notice how you respond to pressure, what motivates you, and what limits you. Self-knowledge allows you to lead from authenticity rather than imitation. The better you understand yourself, the better you can guide others with clarity and empathy. Every mistake you make is a teacher if you are willing to listen. Too many people waste failures by blaming circumstances instead of studying them. Each setback holds information about what didn't work, what needs to change, and where you can improve. Leaders who reflect on failure become stronger, more strategic, and more patient. Those who ignore it repeat the same lessons again. The habit of reflection transforms mistakes into progress. Learning every day also means seeking diverse perspectives. Surround yourself with people who think differently. Engage with ideas that challenge your assumptions. Growth does not happen in comfort, it happens in the presence of difference. Listen to opinions that stretch your thinking. Study cultures, fields, and disciplines beyond your own. The broader your understanding, the wiser your leadership becomes. Diversity of thought deepens decision-making and widens empathy. Wisdom grows through stillness as much as through study. Quiet moments allow information to turn into insight. A leader who never pauses to think ends up repeating without understanding. Take time each day to reflect, not just on what you learned, but how it applies to your life and leadership. Reflection converts experience into wisdom. Without reflection, knowledge remains untested and unused. Purposeful leadership is guided by meaning, not ego. Learning daily keeps that purpose alive. It reminds you why you lead and who you serve. Every new piece of wisdom refines your direction. You begin to see leadership not as a pursuit of power, but as a commitment to progress your own and others. Learning helps you make decisions rooted in understanding rather than impulse. It gives you patience when results are slow and vision when paths seem unclear. The most impactful leaders learn as much from others as they teach. They listen more than they speak. They watch how people react, adapt, and improve. They learn from the courage of those who try and the mistakes of those who fail. They learn from the quiet dedication of those who work without recognition. The world around you is constantly teaching. The key is paying attention. A commitment to lifelong learning also protects you from stagnation. Many talented people stop growing after reaching a certain level of success. They rely on past achievements to define them. But the moment you stop learning, you start falling behind. The future belongs to those who evolve faster than their challenges. Continuous learning keeps you relevant, agile, and creative. It prevents comfort from turning into complacency. To make learning a daily practice, approach each day with the mindset of improvement. Ask yourself, what can I understand better today? What skill can I sharpen? What mistake can I learn from? These small questions keep your focus on growth rather than perfection. Progress comes from repetition, not sudden transformation. Each day of learning builds on the last, creating a foundation of wisdom strong enough to support leadership that lasts. Learning also strengthens empathy. The more you understand people, history, and the struggles of others, the more compassionate you become. Knowledge without empathy leads to arrogance. Wisdom with empathy leads to humanity. A well-informed but cold leader may achieve results, but they will never inspire hearts. Purpose-driven learning teaches you not just what to do, but how to do it with kindness and fairness. Technology and information move quickly, but wisdom still grows slowly. You must balance speed with depth. Read widely, but think deeply. Absorb information, but take time to process it. Not everything that sounds new is useful. A discerning learner knows how to separate noise from truth. This discernment is what turns constant learning into lasting wisdom. Mentorship is another powerful form of learning. Seek guidance from those who have walked the path you are on. Listen to their stories, their struggles, and their lessons. At the same time, mentor others who are just beginning their journey. Teaching solidifies learning. When you share what you know, you deepen your understanding and keep humility alive. Knowledge grows strongest when it is passed on. To lead with wisdom, you must also learn from silence. Silence teaches patience, restraint, and observation. In moments when you feel the urge to react quickly, pause and listen. That pause often reveals insight you would have missed. Silence allows truth to surface. Many leaders lose wisdom because they fill every space with noise. The ability to learn from quiet moments is a sign of emotional maturity. A leader who learns daily inspires others to do the same. Your example sets the tone. When people see you reading, asking questions, and reflecting openly, they follow your lead. You create a culture where curiosity is celebrated and mistakes are viewed as lessons. This culture produces innovation and unity because it replaces fear with curiosity. People feel safe to explore, to think, and to grow. Learning every day gives leadership its foundation of purpose. It keeps you aware of your direction and the reason behind your effort. Without purpose, leadership becomes mechanical. With purpose, it becomes meaningful. Wisdom ensures that your purpose remains aligned with truth. It reminds you that leadership is not about being the smartest, it's about being willing to grow every single day. The path of lifelong learning never ends. There will always be new challenges, new ideas, and new lessons waiting to be understood. The joy of leadership lies in that journey, the daily act of learning, growing, and sharing what you discover. When you keep learning every day, your leadership remains alive. You continue to evolve, to inspire, and to lead with a sense of purpose that never fades. Wisdom is not a destination, it is the reflection of a mind that never stops learning.